This ball is crushed. Man, what a shot. Our step back three on the way. Oh, it banks in.
All right, welcome in. It is the Brothers and Ball podcast here for the second edition of the Brothers and Ball podcast. I'm with Michael Douglas. I'm Christopher Douglas. And once again, we're loaded for topics today. Our guy Sam Darnold got traded. The Panthers landed Sam Darnold. We're going to break that all the way down as our lead topic. In the second half of the show, we're going to get to some playoff predictions for the NBA and some other predictions, just foolish and or justified. And we're also going to be doing an NFL mock draft, quick draw style. So we'll be going back and forth. Mike takes half the picks. I take the other half. So we're loaded for today. Mike, I want to ask you how you're feeling.
Feeling pretty good. No complaints over here. Getting ready to watch opening day here for the Mets.
Yeah,
as
home
we
opener.
get going here. Yeah, absolutely. A lot to talk about. Let's get to it.
All right. So no other place for us to jump in other than Sam Darnold getting traded to the Carolina Panthers. We saw some video of Sam Darnold. He was pretty pumped about it. He had his family and, some close friends, Jordan Palmer and company, celebrating for him. They had a Panthers hat for him and everything already. So he's headed to Carolina. The return for the Jets is a 6th-round pick this year, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2022 4th-round pick. So before we get into our reactions for it, I want to hear what Joe Douglas had to say. So we're going to let that audio run for you guys. Let's hear from Joe Douglas.
Having the number 2 pick in the draft, I think it's safe to say that, if our pick was a little later, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. We'd fully be comfortable moving forward with Sam. And ultimately, we felt like this was a decision that was best for all parties. I can tell you guys as well that, there was even discussion about us taking a quarterback at pick number 2 and having Sam here for the season. And ultimately, we felt that wouldn't be the best situation for Sam, the rookie quarterback, Coach Solid and his staff, and the locker room. We felt like this was the best decision for the entire organization moving forward.
All right, Mike. So we heard him. We heard him talk about, hitting the reset button there as far as the quarterback contract. He kind of sounded like he didn't want to do this. He wasn't fully committed to trading Sam this whole time. Sounds like they were having discussions this whole time. So I want to get your reflection here. Joe Douglas had a lot to say just now. I want you to unpack it a bit. What do you make of what Joe said?
He's committing to a quarterback at 2. He wants to be tied to one of his guys. No matter how you or I feel about Darnold, I think Joe wants to go down with his guys if he's going to go down. We'll see. I think it completely presses the reset button. I think it buys Joe Douglas some more time, being that you're going to have a rookie quarterback. You just got your coach. So I think Joe's looking out for himself as well as the organization. As far as the actual trade's concerned, I would have liked a higher pick than a 6th-round pick this year, but I do like the 2nd and the 4th next year. So we'll see where that goes. And as far as Carolina, I think it's a great fit for Sam Darnold. He's back with Robbie Anderson. He's got a running back, top, 2-3 running back in the league. He's got the head coach we all wanted. He's got weapons. I mean, he's in a situation to succeed, and I think we're really going to find out what Sam Darnold is in Carolina.
Yeah. It's funny because I want to reflect on the Jets, but before I do so, it's like the Panthers have everything that the Jets could have had if they didn't hire Adam Gase. Yeah. You could have had Darnold. You could have retained Robbie Anderson. You could have had Matt Rule with his guy Joe Brady. It's like, all those things lead to some success for Sam Darnold. But just to further, unpack what went what went down for the Jets. I mean, if you had kept Sam Darnold and you didn't pick up that 5th-year option, and you did whatever with him and a rookie quarterback this year on the same team, you would have still gotten a 3rd-round pick for letting him walk in free agency. So, all things considered, it's a decent return. Especially considering on the last podcast, literally last week, I gave you all the reasons why the trade market for Sam Darnold was dead. This completely blindsided me, and I had no idea it was coming. I did not think Darnold was going to get traded this soon. I didn't even think it was going to happen before the draft. But Carolina made their choice, so now they're going to be out on a quarterback at 8. That's another big tell for Carolina. But I think they have everything in place in Carolina to right what is wrong with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold came in, if you think about it, just comparing to what the Jets rookie quarterback is going to have and what Sam Darnold didn't have. We traded up for Sam Darnold, losing a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick just that year alone. So he missed out on some talent that should have been coming in with him. Zach Wilson, who we assume they're going to take, is going to come in with rookies just as talented as him. And he's going to have a whole cast of characters that Sam didn't have the opportunity to play with. So as far as you saying the reset button, Joe, Salah, and this quarterback are all tied at the hip. They are in lockstep for the next 4 years. It's turning a leaf for the Jets. So it's something that I did not see coming at all. I did not think Carolina was in on Sam Darnold. But last week you did drop the hint. You said don't sleep on Carolina. They may be looking to move in for Sam Darnold. I remember you saying that. So
yeah, they're just not sold on Bridgewater. And now, it's funny, we talk about, this is what the Jets could be. I mean, when Darnold came into the league, Bridgewater was there with him as well. So I don't know, do you hold on to Bridgewater or is he, you send him somewhere to be a backup? I think it's probably done in Carolina for him. And just quickly on Joe Douglas, he's got now 21 picks over the next 2 years. I mean, this is it. If this is the road you're taking, you had a ton of cap room. You didn't overspend really on anybody. You're committing to these picks and getting and building a roster your way. You got to hit. You got 21 picks over the next 2 years, and I think 10 in the first 3 rounds. So it's make or break here, Joe.
Yeah, it definitely extends life for Joe a little bit. Gives him some leeway, and it's just going to be tough to see a rookie quarterback take his lumps again, because it's not like this team is leaps and bounds better than what Darnold was dealing with a few years back. It's going to be an interesting time to root for the Jets. And just real quick, your prediction: 17 games for the Panthers. I checked out their schedule. Give me your 17-game record for the Panthers. They got a middle of the road strength of schedule, I would say.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I haven't looked at their schedule. The division's obviously tough. You got the Bucks, right? They're returning all 22 starters.
But then those 2 games against the Bucks, you got 2 games versus Atlanta. You got 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what Atlanta's going to be. They're going to play
Saints,
tough.
no Breeze.
Saints, yeah, we'll see. I don't know what the Saints are doing. I think they could be sneaky in the draft. You never know. They could move up and go get their guy. I don't know. I'm going to say they're going to win at least 8 or 9 games. I mean, 17-game schedule. So if you win 9 games, you're going 9-8.
Yep.
All right. So you're going 9. You're going to be above 500, I think.
I was going to say, listen, you're going to see a huge turnaround. You're going to see a different Sam Darnold, and don't be surprised if this team can win. I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if they go 10-7. I'm not going to go on a record and say they will, but I think they're at least hovering around 500.
You're not shocked if they win 10 games at all.
Of course not. We forget how good Christian McCaffrey is because he's been banged up. And, Darnold can clearly make something happen with Robbie Anderson. But happy for Sam Darnold. I'm happy to see him happy for sure.
We have to also remember he's playing for his next contract.
Oh, of course.
So I think whether he was a Jet or he was in Carolina now, I think you were going to get the best Sam Darnold, that you could possibly see. And I think he's going to stick in Carolina for a while. I really like the move. I don't know, and I'll be rooting for him because he never got a fair shot with the Jets, and maybe it's good that he parted ways. You saw how happy he was, his family was. He seemed like he was ready to move on. He was tired of hearing it. And you couldn't keep Darnold and a rookie there together. There's
Yeah,
no way that works.
and yeah, Joe said they entertained it. It seems like they were kind of like 60-40, let's draft a rookie, or 40%, let's keep Sam. So it's just going to be turning of the leaf for the Jets. So fresh start for both teams. Excited for both teams on both fronts. But we're gonna hit a quick break, and we will be back to run the ever so famous segment, Justified or Just Foolish.
That's right.
And that's going to be NBA headline style. So keep it locked. Welcome back. It's the Brothers in Ball podcast. We're going to be talking some ball, as in the association. We have Justified or Just Foolish, famous game where we decide whether it's justified or just foolish, and it's going to be back and forth. We're going to go over some NBA headlines as the season's winding down. I'm getting close to playoff time. So, Mike, we're going to kick it off with you. I want your reaction first. Well, here we go. Here's the statement. The Denver Nuggets will win the West, as in represent the West in the NBA Finals. Justified or just foolish?
I think you can tell by my grin where I'm going with this one. This is justified. Okay, and let me tell you why.
Wow. Okay.
The move for Aaron Gordon is completely underrated. No one's talking about it. They haven't lost a game since the trade deadline. I think it's 7-0. Okay, and they're scoring well over 120 points in those 7 games. Okay, Millsap now comes off the bench. Their defensive rating has gone way up without Millsap playing starters minutes. Okay, they're young, they're athletic, they have an MVP candidate, right? Jamal Murray can get you a bucket whenever he wants. Okay, they're loaded, they're deep. I like their coach. And let's be honest, it's LeBron. AD is hurt, right? Clippers, I don't know how sold I am on them, right? Phoenix, they're just getting there. I don't think Lillard and Portland has enough. I mean, it's a stacked West, but this is it for Denver. And they went all in with the Aaron Gordon move. So I'm going to say justified. Denver in the finals.
That's shocking. I did not think you were going there with that. All right, so the reason why it's just foolish, and everything you said is valid just now, but the reason why it's just foolish is because you still have to worry about the Lakers. And if you run into the Lakers in the first round, I don't think that's good for Denver, because that's a possibility at this point with the way things are shaking out. Aaron Gordon's a huge pickup. I'm not trying to sell that short, but I want you to consider this. What's the big difference between Aaron Gordon and Jeremy Grant from last year? What's the notable difference? They two-way player. They stretch the floor a bit.
So there's a little bit of a difference. Last year, Jeremy Grant didn't play like he's playing this year. I did not know Jeremy Grant was going to be like this. Jeremy Grant, he's for sure surprised me. I feel like we saw this from Aaron Gordon over the last year or so. We saw what he was going to be. So they probably are the same player now, but I don't think Denver had any idea Jeremy Grant was going to do what he's doing in Detroit.
Fair. So let me get to the reason why it's just foolish is because I still have the Lakers coming out of the West. I have to assume they're going to come back fully healthy. I have to assume that Anthony Davis is going to look like the Anthony Davis from last year. Until I see otherwise, I'm not going to change my mind on that. But Denver's streaking. They have a center who's going 50, 40, 90 right now. He's probably at the top of the MVP ladder for me, but it's getting scary in Denver, man. They're not going to be someone that you want to play. And now that you're going to be traveling to and from places, traveling to Denver's no fun for anybody. It's a serious home court advantage. So outside the Lakers, I would say Denver's tops, but I got to stick with the Lakers for now.
Now, real quick, you said they don't want the Lakers in the first round. I'm going to say that's who you do want in the first round, because the longer you have to wait to play the Lakers, that's
More
the
momentum.
healthier they're getting. Yeah, you want to get them first. Now, I do think Denver's going to work their way up enough where they will avoid the Lakers in the first round. But man,
Yeah. I don't think the Clippers slide all the way down to match themselves up with the Nuggets, but
Utah's just completely fraudulent.
I agree.
Fraudulent.
I agree.
I'm
Same
way
thing with
out
the
on Utah.
Clippers. Same thing with the Clippers.
They can win 70 games, 65 games. I really don't care. I don't care. I'm done. I'm out on that.
We're together on that one.
All right, let's switch it over for you, Chris. The Lakers will have to play in a play-in game. Justified or just foolish?
Okay, it's just foolish, and the reason is LeBron and AD are going to come back and not allow this to happen. But as of late, they are playing better basketball since those two have been out, specifically since LeBron's been out. You're getting your contributions from Schroeder now. He's back and fully healthy. And now that Drummond's in the fold, I think that this is, Shannon Sharp says it all the time on Undisputed. This is the new big three that we're going to see. I think Drummond's going to be a lot more lethal when he's got Davis and LeBron on the floor with him. And I think this is a team that nobody wants to see. And I think that their priority is going to be, okay, we're not going to put ourselves in a position to play in a playing game. It's just not going to happen. There's too many veterans, and I just don't see a LeBron James-led team allowing this to happen. So I think they end up probably being the 6th seed. That's just my guess right now. But it's definitely just foolish. LeBron will not allow a play-in game.
So I'm going to agree with you. I think it also is just foolish. And I think you have to avoid it because anything can happen in a play-in game. Mm-hmm. And I think they know that. Something crazy, whoever they play could go bonkers and, someone just has the game of their life and you're in trouble. And I think, people aren't talking about it enough. And I don't understand why. Drummond is a huge pickup for the Lakers.
Massive.
It puts Anthony Davis doesn't have to guard a center now. When he does come back, you throw Drummond on him, right? Gasol can come off the bench, right? And this team's loaded. Wes Matthews, Drummond, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Dennis Schroeder, KCP, Kuzma, right? Caruso.
Yeah.
List goes on. You could put Morris on there. They just signed Ben McLemore, who's going to be able to just sit in the corner and shoot.
Yeah, I think he'll actually make contributions too. I think that's a solid under-the-radar pickup.
Yeah. So and you're right. They are playing better as of late. And maybe this is good for them. Maybe it's getting these other players ready to go because we know what LeBron and AD are.
Final thought on the Lakers real quick. Put it this way. If they needed more, LeBron would have made it happen at the trade deadline. He knew
Correct.
Drummond was coming in buyout season. He knew that they were going to be able to add another piece or so. And with Schroeder, the 5 that you ran down, that's going to start and play in crunch time, they're more than okay. They're more than okay. They're not going to be able to be stopped, I think, in the playoffs. But another Western Conference playoff headline. The Los Angeles Clippers, will not make it out of the second round for the second straight season. Is this justified, Mike, or is it just foolish?
This is the easiest one on the list. It's justified.
Okay.
They are not getting out of the second round. And you know what? I don't know if they make it out of the first. The West is loaded. Okay, let's go down the list here. Utah, the Suns, Lakers, Blazers, Mavericks, Nuggets, Clippers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7 teams right there. Are you surprised if they lose to any of those teams I just named in a 7-game series?
No.
Okay. If Porzingis doesn't get hurt last year, I'm not sure they win round 1.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was the injury. I think he got suspended or ejected
he got a double
from the game
tech
last year.
Yeah, he got a double tech in one game that was bogus.
Yeah, in a game that they
had all the momentum in. Yeah.
I don't know. Kawhi's always a little shaky to me. Obviously, he's a great player, but I don't know. I think there's too much firepower in the West. And if they got to go, 6 or 7 games in the first round, and then, you getting somebody like, Denver or Phoenix, Portland, someone that's going to give you a run in that second round,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, out of that list that I just named, there's going to be really good teams going home in round one. Round one.
It's a fact. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it is just foolish. Reason being is because this team is coming out with a lot more to prove, a different head coach, and the whole bubble thing. They want to prove that was a fluke. They're the type of team to coast during a regular season and kick it up to another level in the playoffs. I'm not crazy about the Rondo pickup. I feel like they could have went bigger at the deadline, but I still think that this team has something on their shoulder where they're going to be able to, as it stands right now, think about it this way. As it stands right now, they would get the Blazers. They're either going to have the Blazers, the Lakers, or the Nuggets in the first round, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out, because Clippers, Nuggets, and Lakers are all right there within the same 2 or 3 games of each other.
The only one they win is Portland. They don't win a series against the other two. Denver's better than last year, and Denver beat them last year.
I get that. I get where you're coming from on it. I just think that because if you make it out of the first round and you're the 3 seed as they are right now, I think they can handle Phoenix. I think they're better than Phoenix. Phoenix is a little
Correct.
bit
I
too
think-
young for my
yeah.
liking.
Yeah, they're a year or two away, Phoenix.
So really, all you got to do is make it out of the first round, avoid the Lakers or maybe the Nuggets in the first round, and then you can be in the Western Conference Finals because you can beat the Suns in the second if the Suns make it out of the second. I mean, there's a whole lot of ifs there, but I'm going to say just foolish because the Clippers are going to take it to another level than they did last year. Never been to a conference finals, but they're doing it this year.
Matchup's going to be a huge key.
Mm-hmm. Always is in the
I
playoffs. Always is.
I think it's going to be Utah's going to get the 1 seed. I think Phoenix is going to hold on to the 2, and then I think you're going to see probably Nuggets, Clippers, Blazers, Lakers in that kind of order. So,
Yeah.
You're probably looking at maybe a Clippers. I don't know. I don't know. It's about matchups.
The West, the West is open.
It's nuts. All right, let's switch over to the East here. And I am going to start with the Brooklyn Nets. Okay. The Brooklyn Nets will not win the East.
I've been waiting for this one. This is so justified that it's incredible. 26th in defensive rating, this team. Okay, KD comes back. He doesn't miss a shot, sure. Turns the ball over 6 times. They didn't exactly look perfect last night versus the Pelicans. Pelicans are a team who plays no defense. Pelicans are the same mold as the Nets in terms of they can score and they can't defend anybody. So, of course, the Nets are going to outscore them. Comes down to the East. I got Philly looking very strong and someone who the Nets are not going to be able to guard. Okay, Tobias Harris under Doc Rivers is not the Tobias Harris we know under any other coach. He is much improved under Doc Rivers. Now, that's not even talking about perennial MVP candidate Joel Embiid. Who's covering Embiid on the Brooklyn Nets?
It doesn't matter. Can they score? Can they score 130?
Before you even answer that, flip it over to the Bucks. It's the same exact thing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who's covering the reigning 2-time MVP? The guy who's been doing this, 29 and 13 thing for 3 years now. It's a matchup nightmare. The same way Brooklyn is a nightmare for other people, they are not going to be able to defend inside. You can't tell me they're going to go small against Joel Embiid or Giannis. That's a nightmare. You're not going to be able to pack the paint with Irving, Harden, Joe Harris, LaMarcus Aldridge, and KD on the floor. It's not going to work out that way. There are too many holes. No team that defends like this makes it to the finals. The Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers both play better defense, and I have them both squarely ahead of the Brooklyn Nets to make it to the finals. Not to mention these guys never played together. They're just all together, but they take nights off here and there, vacation break here. I got a sore hamstring here. It's I don't like it. I don't like what Brooklyn's doing. I get it. They're number one in the East. I don't like their prospects in the playoffs.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say this is
Smart man.
yeah. The Sixers are tough, but last year all I heard from you was that Doc is the reason why the Clippers didn't do their thing. He can't coach in the playoffs. Well, what's the difference this year? He's in the East. The Bucks are interesting. I know Giannis has a big chip on his shoulder, but I'm going to give you a dark horse, and they were there last year, and it's the Miami Heat. Spoelstra is probably the best coach in the Eastern Conference, and I'm looking down this list. I mean, after Nets, Sixers, Bucks, right? And the pack is all the same record-wise. Hornets are your 4th seed right now. The Hornets would be hosting a playoff series against the 5 seed Atlanta Hawks, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Heat are your 6th seed, Celtics, and then Knicks, right? I'm completely out on Boston. Knicks aren't there yet. Hornets or Hawks, I mean, that's nothing. I'm going to say, I mean, the Nets, they have a good shot, but I don't see Philly doing it. I like the Bucks, and I also like the Heat ahead of Brooklyn.
Think about it this way. If the Heat make up a couple games here, they're only a half game behind Charlotte. The Heat end up as the 4 seed. The Nets could have to face what I would like to call a gauntlet. Say the Knicks, one of the best defensive teams in the league, makes the play-in game. So it's going to be Nets versus Knicks. Then it's possibly the Heat. Then you go against the Sixers or the Bucks. That's not – the East is not the East of old. That's not going to be an easy road. Those are 3 teams that defend. So I don't like it for Brooklyn. I don't. I want to spin this back around to you. A headline from one of these Eastern Conference teams. Drew Holiday netted a huge contract. So tell me, Drew Holiday will be worth his new contract of 4 years and $160 million. Is that justified or is that just foolish?
Completely just foolish. Okay. And I don't want to turn this into a Drew Holiday bash session. Okay. Because he's a good player. Okay. He already got the huge deal from the Pelicans. Right. And they ended up getting rid of him because they could not win with him. They weren't winning. I mean, they won a playoff series, I think, a couple years ago because him and Rondo completely locked up the guards from Portland. But to pay him 4 for 160 is almost like what the Cowboys did when paying Amari Cooper. You traded for him midseason and you didn't want to let him walk. So you completely overpaid for this guy. Is he a good player? Yes. Is he the reason why you're going to win a championship? I don't think so. I mean, that's a max contract. If Drew Holiday is one of your 3 best players, I think you're in for a little bit. I don't like the contract. I don't. I think Middleton's a better player than him, and I think he needed to invest it somewhere else. But it is tough to get people to come play in Milwaukee. So maybe that was their thinking too. But to me, you cannot pay Drew Holiday this money. No way. No way.
I tend to agree with you. I want to say it's just foolish only because of the number. But at the same time, the last thing you said makes me think that it is a bit justified because he is someone who a talent level player that you're probably not going to be able to lure to Milwaukee. I think the Bucks thinking was this team is the best team we've had around Giannis this entire time. So let's get this thing, going. We got to keep Giannis happy. I know he's on a huge contract, but now you're talking about a big 3 of Giannis, Holiday, and Middleton. Is that good enough? It could be to make the finals, but I want to say just foolish just because of the number. I mean, what can you do with 4 years and 160? You could probably get one of the best players in the market, and that's a better player than Holiday. For the interim, Holiday's a good guy to have around, but I don't know. It's tough. But I'll say just foolish.
He's definitely a good player. He's just not max level worthy.
He's not shifting the needle
tough.
To championship needle.
And I know we mentioned, Milwaukee's probably not luring big time free agents, but at the same time, if Giannis is that guy, people should want to come play with him.
Yeah, how
So
come
I
they
think,
can't get Kawhi if he opts out for that same money?
well, we know Kawhi's a different breed.
Yeah, well,
Kawhi is something else. I don't know. I don't
if
know
he
what's up with
joins,
Kawhi.
if he were to join up over there, it'd be crazy.
Oh, big time. All right, and let's finish up here. This is going to be our last one. Joel Embiid will win the MVP. Justified, just foolish.
Now, this one is going to be just foolish. The reason why it's going to be just foolish is because you've alluded to it in the past, and we've talked about this. Jokic plays the same position and is going to end up with more impressive numbers and a more impressive team altogether, in my opinion. In a loaded West, I have the Nuggets ending up being the third or the second seed, and Philly's definitely. I don't think there's any way that they skate past the Brooklyn Nets at this point because the Nets are rolling on a different level as far as regular season goes, and they're getting healthy. So I don't see Philly climbing up the ladder at all in the East, and I think that Denver is doing more impressive things in the West. I said it earlier. Jokic is 50, 40, 90. Before LeBron got hurt, it was LeBron. Now I have to rock with Jokic. The guy's just incredible. On a night in, night out basis, he paces the team. He's their point guard and their leading rebounder and their leading scorer all in one. It's a unique combination that we haven't seen. He's probably the best passing big man of all time. And I think it's one of those years where you give the MVP to someone who hasn't had it before.
Okay, this is also just foolish. I agree with you. Let's just run down the list here. I do think the dark horse to win it was James Harden before this injury.
Yep.
So I'm taking him out. LeBron out, got hurt, right?
What about the
who does
NBA
that
leading scorer, Lillard?
No, his team's not doing well enough. If they're doing what the Suns were doing, I could see Lillard being top of the list. But I mean, Kawhi's not having a great year. We just talked about Lillard. Donovan Mitchell, his numbers are good.
What about a three-peat for Giannis?
Giannis is on the list, and I don't know why no one's talking about him. And another guy is Luka Doncic. I think as it stands right now, it's Jokic, it's Giannis, Embiid, and then Doncic. I think those are your guys that are going for it. I think Doncic, his team is, too iffy to get it right now. I'm going Jokic. I mean, you can't give it to Embiid when he's not even the best center in the league, statistically or just by your eyes. I mean, he averages more points, but rebounds, assists, steals all go to Jokic on a better team. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's just foolish, and Jokic wins MVP this year.
We agreed quite a lot there. I like it, though.
We did.
I like
We
it.
did.
I like it. We are going to hit another quick break, and then we have to break down the NBA's top 25, under 25, because there are some blasphemous rankings that we have to break down. That list is all over the place. Of course, ESPN puts out some clickbait like that. We're going to get to it after the break. Keep it locked. This is the Brothers and Ball podcast. Welcome back. This is the Brothers and Ball podcast. We're still discussing some basketball, and this is the ESPN list of the top 25 players that are under 25 years old. Now, I'm going to give you guys the top 10, and then we're going to get into some rankings, and we're going to discuss why they're wrong or why they're right. So we'll start from 10. We got SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from OKC. Bam Adebayo is 9. Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, De'Aaron Fox at 6, Jason Tatum 5, Donovan Mitchell 4th, LaMelo Ball all the way up at 3, my guy Zion sitting at 2, and then I feel like the most undisputable thing here is that Luka is number 1 on the list. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever done anything as young as Luka's doing it right now, but Luka tops the list. The top 10 leaves out some really, really good names from good players. So I want to get your reaction, Mike. Start with the top 10. what exactly is wrong with the top 10?
Okay. Love LaMelo Ball. He can't be 3 on this list. He cannot be ahead of Jason Tatum. He cannot be ahead of Ben Simmons. And he cannot be ahead of Devin Booker. No way. No way. And if we're just going to stick in the top 10, Booker should be way up higher. I would put him number 2. I'd have Zion 3, but I'm okay if people want to put Zion 2. Booker needs to be at least 3 on this list. And to me, that is, you cannot dispute that.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot dispute that. So that's where I'm at. I have some other issues with the list, but I'll get your reaction real quick.
Yeah, LaMelo can't be top 3. I think LaMelo is top 10. I don't think he's top 3. Tatum, I would move Tatum up to 3, honestly, and then I'd have Booker at 4th. Mitchell 5, Simmons 6. And the top 10, like, where's De'Aaron Fox coming from? There is no way he's a top 10 under 25 player. Think about the people that were left out of the top 10. I know we're going to get to it. Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown, Ja Morant, Trae Young,
Jamal
Sabonis.
Murray.
Sabonis, who's in the All-Star game every year almost now.
2 years in a row.
Yeah, Jamal Murray. So there's a laundry list of players that should be ranked ahead of him. I love SGA, but he can also move down out of the top 10. Adebayo, Booker, all of them are firmly in the top 10, but Fox and SGA, I can't get down with that one there.
So, other issues I have here.
Go ahead.
Ja Morant and Trae Young, we were talking about in the break. That is unacceptable. 15 and 16? No way. Okay.
Below Michael Porter Jr.
Okay. And you have Sabonis, 2-time All-Star. Trae Young was an All-Star, right? Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram. All those guys, to me, should be ahead of De'Aaron Fox. I like De'Aaron Fox, but what has he done? He's putting up numbers and not winning games.
Yep.
Winning has to count for something, and he's not doing any of it.
That's correct.
Mikal Bridges, I don't know where that comes from. Michael Porter Jr. I like. Yeah, I Morant, Young, Tatum, and Booker all need to be way up on this list.
All right, you tell me who went up. I'm going to tell you who needs to go down. Porter's too high at 14. Bridges is too high at 17. Tyrese Halliburton has had a cup of tea in the league, and he's at 21. John Collins is a good player, but I can think of some people who should be on the list instead of him. Same thing with
trying
Jared
to move
Allen.
him all year.
Right. So, Colin Sexton, I like it. He's a scorer. He can be on the list. He comes in at 25. I can't really argue that. But, Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Ayton, these guys are not as proven as my guy RJ Barrett. Where the hell is RJ Barrett on this list?
Yeah, to sit here and tell me that you would rather John Collins, Jared Allen, Sexton, Ayton over Barrett is just complete nonsense. There's no way. Barrett should be in the top 20 easy.
These
top
guys
20.
are all the same age as Barrett, less accomplished. Most of them on a worse team at this point. I think it's crazy that you leave Barrett off. And I know we've talked about this in the past, but I think part of the reason why he gets overlooked is he's the least flashiest of these guys. He doesn't have any flair to his game. He'll get an and one and he's straight face and he'll high five his teammates and he'll go to the he'll make a superb play and he's never too high and he's never too low. So he's just I guess a snooze for NBA writers and that's why the ESPN writers here left him off the list. I can't understand it. And if you make this list next year and he's not on it, it's gonna get scary because now he's nearly a 20-point per game guy. He's up there.
Now, since the All-Star game, he's had his 3 highest scoring games of his entire career. 2 in the 30s, and I think he had high 20s last night, and he went 6 for 6 from 3.
Right.
So, I mean, he's just coming into his own right now, and I was just looking at a couple of guys that jumped to mind. I didn't know how old they were. Randall's 26 and Levine's 26. Those are the 2 guys I had in mind, but they wouldn't be on the list.
Well, just to speak one more thing about R.J. Barrett, his last 40 games, he's shooting 45% from three. Not from the field, from three. So biggest concern for me was that he wasn't a great shooter. Everything going to the basket is great. He's very good at that. But I had concerns about his shot. Goes 6 for 6 last night. Another omission. He's really not been great this year. But last year, he lit the world on fire. Tyler Hero. Everybody told me that Tyler Hero is better than R.J. Barrett. So how are they both left off the list for guys that have played, 45, 50 games with Halliburton and Edwards? I don't know. And Jared Allen, come on.
Yeah, you missed me with that. And I'm looking here. So this is ESPN's list.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of analysts, right? So the analysts that put this together, Bobby Marks, Kevin Pelton, and Mike Schmitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Marks put Tatum at 13th on his ballot. 13th.
That's sad.
I don't know how that's justified. I don't know how that's justified at all.
It's not. It can't be. But I don't. Yeah, like the one other thing about the top, 3 to 5, LaMelo Ball. He's an excellent player, but Simmons and Tatum, they're both better on the defensive end. LaMelo really doesn't give you much on defense at all, and I guess his impact on the Hornets is why they have him up so high. Hornets were a very bad team, and he came in, and now they're around 500, over 500. So, but I can't give him that credit so early. So him and Fox have to slide down. Get my guy Barrett on the list, please.
He's got to be.
Please.
There's no way around it. There is no way around it.
That's a fact. But we can hit a quick break, and we are going to get into our final 2 segments of the podcast here for this week. We got Socially Acceptable, introducing that one for the first time, where we are going to discuss things that happened on social media over the past week or so. A couple things very eventful with Kevin Durant, Michael Rappaport, and also with Paul Pierce. And then we will be getting into that quick draw mock draft, the top 12, where me and Mike go back and forth and let you know how the draft is going to shake out. So please keep it locked. 2 great segments coming up. This is the Brothers and Ball podcast.
Welcome back. This is the Brothers and Ball podcast. I'm Mike. That's Chris. And we're going to get into our new game. This one is called Socially Acceptable. And I'm going to let Chris go on a rant here because he is our social media guru.
That's right.
So who better to start with than Kevin Durant, right? King Burner himself. So he replied to some random saying that Rappaport put out. I can never accomplish anything I want to do in this world alone.
Right.
So is that socially acceptable? He then went on to say a ton of other things. I'm not going to repeat. It's a lot of stuff. So do you think it's acceptable from KD to act like this?
Of course it's not. It is not socially acceptable. Kevin Durant has been that guy to respond to you or me, heckling him on Twitter. And he doesn't shy away from stuff like that. So I get the interaction, but then when Rappaport turns around and posts some of these things where Durant is just completely eviscerating him, cursing him, cursing his wife, telling him he'll spit in his face. I mean, you can look up the specifics. It's bad. It's not socially acceptable. And what makes it even worse is the fact that Durant went in front of a microphone afterwards and says, "I'm sorry that people seen that language I used. That's really not what I want people to hear or see from me." All right. But we know that you are easily irked. We can get to you. Like, people on Twitter can get to him. And a guy like Kevin Durant should not let Michael Rappaport get to him. Michael Rappaport is a comedian, an actor, and barely an analyst. I want to give him some credit, but he's a professional instigator. Like, you want to argue with Michael Rappaport, then you're stooping down to another level. a guy that wants to be viewed as the same level as LeBron James and some of the other greats in today's game would never do this. So I'm very disappointed in Kevin Durant, and a half-ass apology doesn't do it for me. Very upset with how he handled this entire thing.
All right. Yes, it was wrong. I'm not surprised Durant did it. From what we've seen from Durant over the years, like I said, he responds to people like you and I. But he's got to know, Michael Rappaport makes a living off of making jokes.
Yep.
Okay, so, I will say I don't like Rappaport, posting it out there like that as well. But Durant should never put himself in the position to do that. He should never say that stuff. And you're right, the half-ass apology he was better off saying nothing.
That's 100% right. I'm not accepting that apology.
No. And you're right. If he wants to be in that category of greats, which the talent is there, he's got to, you don't hear one bad thing about LeBron. Right? Ever.
People get mad at him if he says, a curse word on Twitter, but he's not arguing with people like this and cursing people. And it's just all around bad look. And for KD to do this, it's just like, I'm not a shut up and dribble guy. I'm not going to tell you to stop, but he should give up the social media thing. He can say whatever he wants at a microphone. He's not bad there, but don't do this.
Yeah, this is too much. Too much. I agree. I'm not surprised though. I've kind of grown to expect it. When I was reading the back and forth, none of it surprised me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, Durant's going to be Durant, and it's on brand. So I'm not shocked. I'm disappointed though. I want to ask you though. There's some other things that went down here on social media, including Paul Pierce losing his job with ESPN. He went live on Instagram. There was about 350, maybe 400 people in his Instagram live at the time, and this is a late night, thing, a late night gathering that he's at. He had all types of stuff going on, some inappropriate content to say the least. He broadcasted this so anyone can see it. You work, you know who you work for. So I want to ask you, Paul Pierce, doing all this on Instagram Live, is it socially acceptable? Is this worth it for Paul Pierce?
Yeah, it's definitely not socially acceptable. I mean, you hit it. He works for ESPN, the biggest sports company, in the entire world. They're obviously not going to take this crap, and is he the only one that does this stuff? Probably not. But he's one of the few that puts it right on Instagram Live. And it's the wrong thing to do. But me personally, I think he did ESPN a favor because he's an atrocious analyst. Absolutely.
I'm going to get to that too. Yep.
But
nailed it.
ESPN did the right thing, and it is what it is. They get to move off of Paul Pierce and maybe find someone else. It just shows you who. Woj, right? That's their biggest NBA guy. He made some comments on Twitter a few months back, and they suspended him for a little bit. But it just shows you where they value Woj a little more. Paul Pierce was nothing to get rid of him. So,
yep. Yeah, I mean, I think just like you said, it's probably doing ESPN a favor. I don't think Paul Pierce was terribly great at his job anyway, just to keep it light. But,
it's brutal.
It's sad to see because, Paul Pierce is a guy that we all watched play. And now, we were watching him on TV. At least you can relate with him. You can say, oh, that's the guy that won the championship, Celtics Big Three, all types of things like that. But the fact that he goes and puts his job out on the line like that, of course, he's not going to think that he was on thin ice. He's not going to think that he was a bad analyst. But, from our eyes, it's probably something that ESPN was looking to do anyway. And then just to circle back around to what you said, you're working for ESPN. You're working for Disney. Is this content for kids that you want out there? Of course, it's not. Not even close to socially acceptable for either of these two guys. But it's a cold world out there. You can get in more trouble than you can help yourself on social media. I'll tell you that much.
Big time.
Without any further ado, we're wrapping up Socially Acceptable. We will switch to the segment that wraps up our podcast each and every week. It is called Quick Draw. We are going to go through an NFL mock draft, quick draw style. We're going to do 30 seconds per pick, why we're picking them, and through the first 12 picks of this NFL draft. We're within a month of the draft, about 3 weeks away, so it's heating up. Things are heating up, and we're going to go 1 through 12. So, Mike, you got the odds. I got the evens. I believe you're going to take Trevor Lawrence first.
Correct. He's a lock. The only other guy in this draft that I think is a lock is Kyle Pitts. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence at number one. I'm not even going to use my full time on that.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't have to use my time either, honestly. The Jets are locked into Zach Wilson. You heard what Joe Douglas said earlier at the top of our podcast, at the top of the hour. So he's locked in. There's really nothing else to say. He's going to be a New York Jet, and they are going to restart the quarterback contract with him. So we can move right on to pick 3, where the draft is going to open wide up. Open really wide. So I want to see exactly where you're at with the 3rd pick, San Francisco 49ers.
Okay, so this is where the draft officially begins.
That's right.
Okay, we do know that they're taking a quarterback. They didn't move up to 3 to not take one. Now the question is who? I hear a lot of Mac Jones, but I just can't see how you move up to 3 to get Mac Jones. And that happened before Jones's pro day. I don't know. I'm going to say they're going to take Justin Fields, who I think is better than Zach Wilson, but I think the Jets are committed to Wilson. So I'm going to put Fields at 3 to the 49ers.
All right. So that puts me on the clock with the
Correct.
Atlanta Falcons. And we have a no trade rule here going on. So if you put a gun to my head, I would say that they're trading this pick. But since you snagged Fields off the board, I think Atlanta is praying that Fields drops, and then that's who they would go with. I think they would pivot, and I still think that they would take a quarterback. Matt Ryan seems like the perfect guy to groom a young quarterback, so they're going to go with Mac Jones, not Trey Lance. Mac Jones is steadily rising. I think Mac Jones is going to take some people by surprise with how high in the draft he goes.
Mac Jones should not be a top 10 quarterback. I hate to say it.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just going with what I think will happen. But to round out the top 5, you are picking for the Cincinnati Bengals. We had 4 quarterbacks just go. First 4 picks.
That'd be the first time ever, yeah?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so I have pick 5 here. So I have the Bengals. So I know a lot of people are saying pick Jamar Chase, which would be nice.
Reunite Burrow.
Big time. But I'm going to say the offensive tackle, Penei Sewell. I think you have to protect Burrow. He was running for his life last year. I mean, he ended up tearing his ACL running for his life. They have a decent amount of weapons there now. They just got rid of Bernard. Mixon is going to be an every down back. Probably a top 10 running back in fantasy, just to let everyone know. And then you got your weapons at wide receiver. So I would take the tackle, and I would start protecting Burrow because Burrow's a real player.
That's right. Well said. Sewell's a good pick. Now, that would put me on the clock here with Miami.
Correct.
So Miami is going to be thrilled because this is exactly what they traded down for. You go from 3 to 6, hoping that you can still get the guy you want, and that guy is going to be Jamar Chase. I think the far and away best wide receiver in the draft, and I think that you're going to want to load Tua with the most weapons possible to make sure that he's successful. And I don't think you can pass up on a talent like Chase. If they didn't have Mike Gesicki, I would say Kyle Pitts, but I'm going to stick with Chase just because that gives you a 3-headed wide receiver monster between Chase, Fuller, and Devontae Parker.
All right. So I have 7 now. I have Detroit.
Yep.
All right, Detroit. So let's see. They lost Kenny Galladay. They have a new head coach. Jared Goff's the quarterback. They're not going to go quarterback, especially with those 4 off the board already. Lance has left. I think they're going to go with a weapon. They just took Hawkinson at tight end, so Pitts is not the selection here. So it comes down to Waddle or Devonta Smith. Wow. I say you probably go with the Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith, at 7.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to move the ball, and I mean they don't have anybody. I mean, Galladay signed elsewhere, and Marvin Jones is not there either. He went somewhere else.
That's correct.
So weapons
That's
are
correct.
needed.
They definitely need some
get a
weapons.
receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you there. So now that the Panthers have solidified their quarterback situation a bit with Sam Darnold, they're going to go all in on what makes the most sense for Sam Darnold. Now, they could take the first defensive player off the board according to our draft so far, but that's not where I have them going. I have them taking Rashawn Slater, the second offensive lineman off the board, to try and solidify the offensive line a bit for your new guy, Sam Darnold, something that the Jets never did for Darnold. So you want to make sure that there's no excuses for Darnold because it is a prove-it year. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money if, depending on how the year is for him. So you're going to want to see what you have. You got to get him protected.
I thought for sure you were going Pitts there.
I mean, it's wide open. They could go with Pitts too, but I want to say that they go with Slater. I think Slater grades out really well for a lot of people in this draft.
All right, so I have Denver.
Denver at 9.
Are you committed to Drew Lock? They also just took a tight end. There's no way Pitts gets drafted this late.
Mm-hmm.
Pitts to me is oh my God. All right, I'm not going to take Pitts at 9 because I don't think Denver is going to take a tight end. I'm going to say they take. Wow, this one's tough. I think they go defense. Is it corner? Is it linebacker? I think they're going to take. I think they go corner, and the guy that's rising big time is J.C. Horn. So I'm going to say cornerback, J.C. Horn.
Son of Joe Horn.
That was the toughest pick of the draft, by the way.
Denver. Yeah, I hear you. So I agree with you about just to pivot here to number 10 with the Cowboys. I agree with you when you say that Pitts is not going to fall this far, but I would not be shocked if Pitts is still a Cowboy. The Cowboys could move up and go get Kyle Pitts. So this is a no-brainer. Kyle Pitts, I mean, Jerry Jones came out and said he's infatuated with the guy. I mean, there's no better compliment you can give a rookie coming into the league than to say that you're frankly obsessed with him. So he's locked in on Pitts. Jerry Jones loves to make a splash. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves a couple picks and maybe even switches off and gives up Michael Gallup in a deal to get another pick to try and replenish things. But Kyle Pitts to Dallas, one way or another, I think that one's going to happen. Got the NFC East gauntlet here. Dallas, Giants, and Philly to wrap this thing up.
Okay, so I know the Giants are squarely linked to Pitts. He's not making it to 11. He's not making it to 10. And if he does make it to 10, the Cowboys would be idiotic to let Pitts go to the Giants.
That's a fact.
All right. Let's see. Giants. They signed Galladay, so they're not going to go wide receiver. They still have Ingram. They're all in on Daniel Jones. Slater, you took already. That would have been the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, there's only been one defensive player selected so far, but
Yeah, they had a good defense last year. I feel like they're going to need something on that line. Ah, man. Wow, this is tough. Do they take the guy from USC? They took Thomas last year, and he looked terrible.
Yeah, you're talking about Vera Tucker from USC.
I think
Offensive lineman.
I think that's probably where they're going to go. I'm going to say Vera Tucker because I don't know. Thomas didn't seem like a Tucker's a guard though.
That's right.
All right, I'm going Tucker.
All right.
Offensive guard to the Giants. So that means you have what, the Eagles here?
Yep, I have the Eagles, and they're going to have their hands full if this is how the draft shakes out because they are looking defense. I do not see them taking Jalen Waddle with the defensive prospects that are on the board in this situation. They could take Waddle if their guys get taken first, but Micah Parsons would be a great pick right here. I think they end up taking Patrick Surtain, second corner off the board. And that solidifies their secondary a bit. They had a piss poor secondary, and they lost safety in the back end in Mills that ended up going to New England. So they need some help back there. Surtain has that NFL pedigree. I give the Eagles Surtain the second, and that wraps up what we had going on here with this top 12.
All right, real quick, a couple of names we did not mention. Obviously, you mentioned Jalen Waddle. So, he's going to go to a good team if this is how it shakes out. And then the other guy that popped on my board is the fifth quarterback, Trey Lance. Where's he going?
That's right. These teams, Patriots aren't far behind here. They're picking 15. There's going to be a trade. We just did the top 12, but there's going to be a trade. There's going to be another trade. Atlanta, maybe Carolina, they're going to get another trade worked out, and I think that's where our draft could kind of lose its accuracy a bit. But without any trades, I think we kind of did a really solid job. I mean, everyone's looking for offense these days. The defensive picks are overrated, especially in the top 10. I feel like it's an offensive arms race for a lot of the teams that are up here that we drafted for.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list that we have here, and I don't see. There's a couple that I don't like. Number 4, Mac Jones.
Yeah,
don't like that at all. And,
I think Atlanta's locked in on a QB or trading down. But go ahead.
And then Slater at 8. I thought you would go Pitts at 8, and I would slide and Slater would be left at 11 for me to take because I think I overdrafted Vera Tucker a little bit.
Yeah, but that's a need for the Giants, and like you said, they solidified a lot of the other stuff offensively.
Yes, for sure.
But we can do this again. We can run it back. We can go over a full first round mock draft in the future. And, with the draft coming up, it's very, very exciting. We didn't get to our Mets this time around. We will do it in the future, absolutely. We're going to check them out and break them down a bit. I know that you're not crazy about Luis Rojas.
Yeah, I'm over here watching a game, doing this podcast, and I'm just I'm not sold on this guy. I've seen enough.
All right, well, that wraps it up for us, Mike. It's another week, another installment of our Brothers and Ball podcast. We're going to be looking forward to getting you guys another guest here in the future coming up. Happy to get episode 2 in the books, Mike. You got any words for the listeners?
No, it feels good. It feels really good. Let's continue to get it going. Like you said, we'll get some guests on here in the future, and next week or so here we'll put a full first round together. What are we 3 weeks away from the draft? A little bit less.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the 8th. Yeah, we're 3 weeks away, so we'll put together a full first round for you guys, and we'll get this thing going.
Absolutely. For Mike Douglas, I'm Chris Douglas. That is the Brothers and Ball podcast. You guys be easy.